I'm getting in the mood.
Oh.
The mood.
Are we role-playing?
Oh.
Let's talk about vaccines. You guys ready? You guys ready for this? All right, let's do it. Remember, you are doing an argument of fact, and the trickiest part about this is making sure that you are arguing something that's complicated enough and that has an opposition, right? There has to be an opposition. It has to be a good opposition. All those things that you see scrolling through your feed where you're like, that is dumb, well, don't argue against it, because that would just be you giving yourself a straw man to argue against, and then you got one paragraph and that's it. You don't have enough to work with there. Think about it, right? You don't want to do a straw man, so it can't be just a simple argument of fact. It has to be more complicated than that, so that you have smaller claims of fact that you have to use to build a more complicated argument. So what's something that we could argue about that would be still within the realm of an argument of fact? It doesn't venture off into value or policy.
Could they cause autism?
Ooh, that's an essay you could do for this if you wanted.
Is it what?
So that was an older argument from back, at least 2006 or something. The idea that vaccines cause autism. Now, there's a whole bunch of things we could talk about with that. Do we have evidence for it? Does anyone?
Statistics, maybe?
So this is one of those things where when autism ends up showing up in children, when does that happen? Around the same ages that you also get vaccines. So this is a fallacy, though. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. False cause. Just because this came before doesn't mean it is the cause of. It doesn't mean it's not the cause of. The same thing, right? If there's nothing that disproves it, then that could be a fallacy also. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I would say it's a lot harder to find evidence for that. There is possibly a connection between, there's definitely a connection between general vaccines that you would give to kids, I'm not talking about COVID right now, general vaccines and SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. Just looking across the globe and just looking at flat statistics of kids dying, and if they were vaccinated within 3 to 7 days of their death, does that mean that vaccines are bad, or does it mean that you're giving too many vaccines at the same time to kids in the way that you deliver it?
It was a little off topic, but I was just wondering if it's like SIDS might be caused by like a pre-existing condition that child inherits from its parents.
Right, because you're in areas that are filled with toxins and stuff like that.
Even genetically, it's like, okay, well, some people are genetic dispositions to do this, that, or the other thing. And so what if, like, they have some sort of immunodeficiency or syndrome or something, and then they, by taking the vaccine, it just kills them because they have this deficiency already.
See, it's more complicated. If you start working it from an angle like that or trying to look at things, at least in that light, I think you're going to end up in a better place.
Okay. I'm going to write that down.
Oh, vaccinated or non-vaccinated?
What do you guys think? Think about it for a minute, too.
Well, you have to look into a lot of things for that.
You would. See how it's complicated enough? What are the things that we have to go through first? Yeah, what?
I think it would be both, because all the vaccine does for you is help you if you do get it. It'll kind of help you fight it off better than someone. Well, we don't even know if it does help better than some of that.
Does it also cut down on the...
You guys are already doing so much better than the last class. Oh my God. It's like I had to pull teeth with that one, yeah.
Do vaccines for COVID-19 also cut down on the infection rate, like the reproductive coefficient of the disease? You know what I'm saying?
See?
We'd have to test that. We'd have to look at numbers.
You do have to look at that. And then this is what we get. It's projecting tinfoil hat to all of us. Okay. All right? So you guys are bringing up really important stuff. You should be bullet pointing because this is an example. So first off, what does the zeitgeist say about this? What's the answer that you get from everyone?
Well, all the zeitgeist says is that we should get vaccinated.
Who do they say is spreading it more?
Unvaccinated.
Oh, I see. They do say unvaccinated spreading more.
Didn't you guys know that this is now a pandemic of the unvaccinated? Haven't you heard? First thing is, what does the vaccine what is it supposed to do for you?
Mitigate the symptoms.
Make you immune.
Well, it's not necessarily making you immune, though.
It doesn't stop you from getting it.
It just helps you fight it off.
It stops you from having worse symptoms.
Mitigates the symptoms. Some of the symptoms.
Okay, here's another question. Are you more likely to be asymptomatic if you get the vaccine or if you don't get the vaccine?
If you get the vaccine, you're probably asymptomatic.
Yeah, it's making it so you have less symptoms. Like, it is helping you. Who does the mask help?
Everybody else.
The mask helps everyone else. The vaccine is only going to help you. Potentially. But you did have something that you were going to say about that too, that could complicate it a little bit more. The other thing to think about, though, is when you get vaccinated, what do?
People are allowed to take off their masks for some.
That was a thing, right? You go to Chipotle, you go to the gym, and they say, if you've been vaccinated, take your mask off. It's fine.
But then it's like people are still like, they're not vaccinated and they might be not wearing the mask though.
I don't mind disclosing. I'm vaccinated, I keep my mask on.
It said the vaccinated can, don't have to wear the mask anymore.
Right.
It's like, what does that do? It's just kind of like, it seems like you're kind of adding fuel to the fire in a way.
If this is supposed to help other people, and you're more likely to be asymptomatic, then you're screwing over everyone who doesn't have the vaccine, who will have harsher consequences. But that's policy. That was like policy-wise, everyone was going that route.
So why doesn't these questions create fallacious arguments?
Because they can. You can fall into a fallacy for all of this, no matter where we're going here. If you want to argue for vaccines, the vaccines are actually not spreading it, because there was something that you said.
Vector transmissibility.
Okay, there's two things that happen. When you get a vaccine, a normal vaccine, you shed the virus for like 14 days.
It needs to build immunity.
Right. You're still shedding that stuff, but what do we normally do when we get the vaccine? Do we stay indoors for 2 weeks, or do we go to Disneyland?
Yeah.
We're so self-absorbed, we're not thinking about anyone else. I have tickets though, they're expensive. What are you gonna do, right? It's not gonna hurt you, it doesn't matter. So think about this. There's more complicated things. Yes, it does make it so that if you are asymptomatic, you're probably less likely to carry it for longer. But if you are symptomatic, what is that gonna do to your behavior? Are you going to go out and cough on everyone? Or are you going to become reclusive during that time period? So it changes things. If you are vaccinated, do you have to get tested right now? No.
For some reason.
But you're more likely to be asymptomatic, so you could be spreading it around. YOLO, right? All the rest of the people, they have to get tested, and so if they do get it, what do? They end up staying home. So who's more likely to be spreading it right now? We're just walking through potential things about this. I'm giving you no evidence at all. I'm only giving you reasoning. So there's that. I did make fun of all the people who were like touting their vaccines and then going to Disneyland and like breathing on everyone, right? Because you go outdoors and then that means you don't have to wear the mask, right? So you're literally going around super spreading and then shaming everyone who didn't get their vaccines but they don't go out and do stuff.
Yeah, and it's even like now with like all these different like counties saying like to go to these bars or these restaurants you have to have like your vaccine card and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get COVID now that you're vaccinated. Right.
But that's what all the ads say, right? That's what I'm getting from the CDC. I'm getting it from the government. They have the information of what it does. It's on the packaging, right? It's on the packaging, it's on the CDC website, but they don't put forward that information because that information will give more ammo to the other side, and the other side is what?
Hell, that's just poison, bro. Those arguments for the vaccine are, though, is they think that it's poison, and they're like, why are they trying to get us to take it right now,
So, are there side effects?
There are side effects.
There are.
Okay. What kinds of side effects are we talking, though?
Basically get COVID.
You get very stupid.
You get very lethargic, soreness.
There's those kinds of effects. Those are normal effects of a vaccine, though. Are there other side effects? Like that would leave you with, congestive heart failure, something in the long run. Do we know if there are longer side effects? Why do we not know? Why do we not know?
Vaccine.
Huh?
The myocarditis for younger people.
Okay, so you're already getting some higher amounts of side effects, but there's still a low quantity of them happening in like kids, and we're going that route now where we're pushing to vaccinate children now. So what does it do? It stops you from dying. Are kids dying from COVID?
Yes.
How many kids are dying from COVID, though? Not that many. Enough to make it mandatory? Because once you get the vaccine, you're safe individually. So then how are we doing this, right? Like, what is our reasoning? How are we weighing what's going on? Because it seems like a lot of the policy that we end up doing out of it, and I know that we're not going to policy here, but it is interesting to see that we're not really doing it right with anything.
Well, even like I know like back then when it first kind of came out, like doctors talked about how they had to like just kind of learn on the fly, and now they have more information and know more things that they can, if you do get it, that they can treat you in a better way than they could.
We have more
in the
hospital
past.
beds now too.
Yeah.
Like people, like with the quarantine thing, we have more medical staff, and it's a little more manageable now when people do get it. It's not like how it was at the beginning, where like just we didn't have enough hospital beds, not enough staff.
Because they were even talking about how they would put them on like the respirators too early in the beginning.
Oh wow.
So now they like kind
They know
of
how to
fight
time
in
better
the
now.
middle. Yeah. So it was that was killing them, putting them on too early.
Even ibuprofen was bad, right? So you guys are right. That's also a factor. So what is really happening with the push to get the vaccines? I think it's unfair to say that we're not really trying to stop COVID, that it's just some political thing. However, it does look like people are not intentionally, but really just we're not doing it right because we have something going on that's stopping us from actually thinking about the scenarios clearly.
Yeah, like maybe it just looks good. Like, you know what I mean? Like you look on the news and they say this state has this many vaccinated people and they're gonna open everything back up.
Okay, when you look at the statistics of how many percentage of Americans have been dying over the past 5-10 years, over the past 2 years, have we had more people dying than we were having all the years previously?
Probably.
Higher numbers?
Yes. I do too.
I haven't seen these statistics.
So when I looked at them, they're roughly the same numbers.
I think before it was like either flu or something else.
Right. But now no one's dying of the flu or pneumonia or heart disease or decapitation or... Hold on though. There are people that earlier on, remember when all this stuff was going on, there were a bunch of people, because I got all the conspiracy theorists and my friends on Facebook. I was going on there to get ammo, right? So I'm going on there and I'm seeing, and every single time they see it, they declare conspiracy, right? That this person died of a car accident, but because they had COVID, they were marked down to die from COVID. And that was actually happening. That was actually happening. But why was it happening?
Well, no, because there's hospitals get reimbursed a certain amount per patient that dies of COVID. And if they have like ventilator, then the money increases. So there's these people who are like the conspiracy theorists, those kind of people.
It all goes back to Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you know? No. So, do you guys see it? Occam's razor?
Yeah.
The closest, right? It doesn't mean that this is true, but the closest answer, the simplest answer, is more likely to be the right answer than the more convoluted one to get somewhere. There's less pieces in between it. It is more likely that this is all about that money. Dollar bill, y'all. Hospitals were making money off of this. More money. And hospitals are now owned by corporations. They're destroying doctors. Give them 15 minutes per session. Don't let them have any time between to review your medical records or anything like that. Pump through the patients. You're not getting paid to sit around, right? And then their minds are like going. People who were like incredibly intelligent are like zombies now, and their doctors practicing medicine for 30 years. What's going on? Because they got to make more money. So you're weighing, right? You're taking what is important and you're giving it up for money. That doesn't mean you can't go the other angle. I was just trying to go against the zeitgeist here to work with it. I won't tell you guys if I am vaccinated or not. I'm not going to do that because I think it's useful to keep you guys on your toes, trying to work with the arguments rather than... What's this though? What is that?
You got tested today.
Oh,
In the class.
I did.
Probably.
That does not mean that I'm not vaccinated. I will tell you I didn't give my records to the school because it doesn't matter. Because even if I'm vaccinated, I can still spread it easily. So I'm going to keep getting tested weekly. It's freaking easy. I'm just going to keep getting tested and make sure, because the fact that we're not testing everyone is what's screwing us all over. See, this is the thing. None of this is actually really fully helping. This is helping like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound a little bit, but at least a Band-Aid will put pressure on the... No, it's more like wrapping your mask around a bullet wound. No, see, that's bad. Bad analogies. Let's not do this. It does help, right? It helps us, just not perfectly.
Yeah.
We should probably still be at home, but we'd all be losing our minds. So students don't learn at home when they can just be sleeping through it. Anything else that we should say about this? Who are you going to go to for information? CDC, Johns Hopkins, they're all the best places to go for information, but data can be skewed really easily. Like, what are the variables that we're missing? I mean, well, we already even just went through a couple things, right? Sure, they have more symptoms. They might shed the virus longer if they're unvaccinated, but they'd also stay at home, or they'd be more likely to stay at home when they are symptomatic. So there's all kinds of other factors that you have to understand. And when studies act like they're definitive, it's super scary because there's so much more that could go on with it. So what do they actually say? Because the CDC presents information, but they also have the other information. You have to understand it and interpret it yourself. When someone says there's a study, you should look at the study and you should be like, well, what's the test group size? And then over how long? And what are the variables? There's so many things that you got to be thinking about when you're looking at a study. That's at least like a 5-body paragraph essay right there. So think about a complex enough thing that has opposition on the other side. If you're saying that unvaccinated are actually spreading it more, you have to come against the best arguments on the opposition. Likewise, on this side. A lot of times the people who are super pro-vaccine are totally just taking all the straw men from the conservative side, right? Just all those crazy nut jobs out there that are like making the dumbest arguments. You're like, see, there's no good arguments on the other side. Just look at John Oliver, Trevor Noah, the ones where you really get your news, but they're just comedians. Those guys, like a lot of the times, they straw man the crap out of the other side. You need to find strong arguments from whatever side you're against. Maybe it's just one argument that you need from the other side because it's a good argument, but you can still rip it apart. Takes you 5 paragraphs.
So if we wanted to kind of like argue both sides, is that something like...
No, it's not like I'm showing opposing viewpoints. It's you do take a stance. It's a really good question that you asked that, right? Like a lot of people end up trying to go that route. You definitely take a stance. That means you do the research first, and then you figure out where you stand, because you don't want to start writing and then realize that you should have been on the other side. That's going to waste some time. Do all your research first, bullet point all your claims and evidence, and then when you figure out, no, I am on this side, you take that stance, but you make all of your arguments about disproving the most important things on the other side. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be about this. It can just be about...
No, it can be about anything. It doesn't have to be anything on the prompt either. Just it has to remain in the realm of an argument of fact that people are in debate over. And there's actually so flat Earth, that doesn't count. You can't do flat Earth, right? It's not
argue that I can do flat Earth, and that
Don't do that. Just don't do that. All right, you guys get it. You guys were great today. You did a lot better than the other class. Maybe you guys had more coffee, whatever. Good job, though. That was fun. Oh, man. Fun stuff.
I actually really like this class.
I'm sorry. I just can't help it.
Something like that. Yeah.